Welcome back to our course on construction grammar. Today we're looking at CASA. First, as always, a quick revision. In this course we adopt the definition of constructions as form-meaning pairings, and we take it that all levels of linguistic description involve these form-meaning pairs. Consequently, we believe that the knowledge of language can be captured in a constructicon, the network of all constructions. Last time we talked about clausal constructions. Today I want to show you a constructionist approach to syntactic analysis called CASA. The issue that started CASA was the question that, what is the point of teaching students? That adult knowledge consists of a network of constructions, that children learn the constructional network from input, and that the input comprise complex utterances, also known as sentences, if we can't show how all of these constructions combine to produce complex utterances or sentences. This is why Thomas Herbst and I developed CASA, a constructionist approach to syntactic analysis. Just a quick revision. Constructs are working memory units, whereas constructions are long-term memory units that are stored, and these can be chunks or schemata. Only in very rare cases do we produce an utterance like "that's the way the cookie crumbles," which actually instantiates only a single construction from the long-term memory. In this case, the saying "that's the way the cookie crumbles." More frequently, we will combine constructions into constructs, so more than one construction will be used for a specific construct. Take "they were able to cut the turtle loose." If you think back to our course, then you will know that, well, we've got work constructions like they, turtle, loose, and the cut construction, but we're also going to have schematic constructions like the NP construction, a be able to construction, or a past tense construction. And finally, the argument structure construction, known as the resultative, is going to give us the meaning of they caused the turtle to become loose by cutting. So how does CASA work? Well, the focus of this analysis is on the overlap between constructions. A main aim of the approach is that it should be simple enough for students to carry out. At the same time, it must be appropriate for the syntactic analysis that is often expected of future teachers during their teacher training programs. For this, we therefore need a shorthand. We're going to have a representation which cannot fully describe all of the features of a construction on its formal and meaning pole. Instead, we will point to the constructions, and we will know that if we wanted to talk more about these, they would take us to a detailed description of form and meaning. Finally, despite the fact that its initial motivation was pedagogy, the approach should also be compatible with usage-based theories of sentence processing. So how exactly does CASA work? Well, it employs so-called construction grids. Take a noun phrase like each new quarter of the city. We know that the head of this construction is a single count noun quarter, which could also be pluralized quarters. The other elements, like of the city and new, for example, are modifiers. They give us attributes that relate to quarter. So the pre-modifier adjective phrase new tells us that it's a new and not an old one. And the prepositional phrase tells us that the city is the ground and the quarter is going to be our figure, just as we said in our discussion of the phrasal construction. Finally, we have a quantifier construction, something that we sort of skipped over during this course, but you can see that a quantifier construction scopes over quarter. So we can see how this specific construct, each new quarter of the city, relies on a general noun phrase construction. We've got a pre-had slot where determinative elements or quantifiers can go, a pre-modifier as well as a post-modifier slot, as well as a head slot for the noun that's going to relate to the thing that we want to talk about in the most abstract cognitive sense. So when we use grids like this, where we say there is a quantifier noun and a noun pre-modifier noun construction, what we mean is that we can link this to detailed form-meaning descriptions. For our adjective phrase, new, for example, we would know that it denotes a property and that quarter is the head thing which is supposed to be new, so the noun to which the attribute relates. So constructional grids in CASA are only pointers to more complex form-meaning pairs, but we need them if we want to represent all of the constructions that are at work in a single construct. Take firefighters cut the turtle free, which seems like a simple sentence. But even in that simple sentence, you have a clausal construction, a verb phrase construction, an argument structure construction, a phrasal construction, and then the word constructions, all of which are blended or connected together. We represent the causal construction on the leftmost edge, and as you will remember from our discussion of clausal constructions last time, these have a meaning that relates to their speech act function in a prototypical sense. So a declarative clause will normally be a statement. One requirement of a declarative clause construction is that it has a subject and a verb, and that these two agree. So firefighters cut the turtle free, but the firefighter cuts the turtle free. Next we have a verb phrase. Here we said that cut the turtle free is a unit. And we know this because we can coordinate firefighters cut the turtle free and rescued it. And we have cut the turtle free and rescued it as chunks which are bigger than words and which share the same subject. So a chunk like the verb phrase is a predication on its meaning level, and of course it gives us information about a topic, which is going to be encoded by the subject. And just to emphasize this again, in our constructional grid, we're sort of glossing over these details, but we take the verb phrase construction as a pointer to this more detailed elaboration of its meaning. Okay, moving on. We see that the subject slots must blend over, so the declarative clause construction subject must be identical to the verb phrase construction subject slot. The verb phrase then covers cut the turtle free, and we indicate this by a box. Then we have the resultative construction, which tells us that we need a subject, a verb, an object, and an oblique. And if we clicked on it, it would take us to its meaning, which is an agent causes a patient to become a new state by being. The verb phrase will include the verb slot, as well as object and oblique, and the subject slot will be mapped again. Then we need fillers for the slots of the resultative construction, and this is going to be carried out by the phrasal constructions. So firefighters is a noun phrase construction, a plural construction, but we're sort of glossing over this, but it's a noun phrase construction that fills the subject slot. Then we have a slot for our verb head complex, which will include tense, aspect, and modality, as you will remember, and in this case cut can be either present tense or past tense. The object slot is filled by the noun phrase the turtle, and the adjective phrase free fills our oblique slot. So far so good. So we can see how these bidirectional arrows indicate how an element like the noun phrase construction firefighters fills a slot of another construction. And we can use overlay of the boxes to also indicate that the verb phrase construction is going to cover verb, object, and oblique of the argument structure construction, as well as VHC, the verb head complex construction, the noun phrase construction the turtle, as well as the adjective phrase construction free. How do we handle adjuncts then? Yesterday, an adjunct that can be added to any kind of argument structure construction is not licensed by the argument structure construction. It's not a role that's required by this construction. Instead, we know that adjuncts freely can be added. And we indicate this by saying that these adjuncts are added to the verb phrase. They attach to the verb phrase. And then this adjunct function is carried out by a noun phrase in this case, if you treat yesterday as a noun. So if we look at this from right to left, we can see how the words group into phrasal constructions, which then fill in slots of argument structure constructions, which will be realized in verb phrase constructions, and there's going to be the constraint of the declarative clause construction. Let's illustrate this with another example. This rendered him speechless with laughter. This is an example from Douglas Adams' Last Chance to See. We've got a clause construction, a verb phrase construction, argument structure constructions, phrasal constructions, and word constructions. That's the way in which we're going to analyze constructs from left to right. And we see again this is a declarative clause construction with subject-verb agreement. Our verb phrase construction notes that it's a finite verb, and in this case the verb phrase will cover rendered him speechless with laughter. We've got an argument structure construction, again an active resultative construction, where the verb slot is filled by rendered, and him is the object, and speechless with laughter is the oblique. The fillers of the argument structure slots in this case are a demonstrative third-person singular pronoun noun phrase construction, this. Our verb head complex is a simple past construction. Our object is again filled by a pronoun NP construction. And our adjective construction has the adjective head, speechless, and a post modifier, a prepositional phrase. And in this prepositional phrase, the ground slot is going to be filled by laughter, a non-count noun. Okay, so as you see, once we try to analyze or break down a single construct into a number of constructions, it can become quite complex. At the same time, what we hope is by offering a simple, straightforward way of doing this. So by knowing that you start with a clause construction, move to the VP, think about the argument structure constructions, and then about the phrasal constructions that lead you to the work constructions, then that way from top to bottom, you will be able to analyze any construct that you come across. Summing up, utterances are constructs, blended constructions that are put together in the working memory. CASA is an approach that functions as a shorthand grid for all the constructions involved. It's got pedagogic motivation, so we want students to be able to analyze concrete actual utterances and sentences. But the goal, the final one, is of course to also have a model that's compatible with actual processing models. Nevertheless, at this point, CASA is still under construction. But if you have a specific sentence or utterance that you want to analyze, and you're using a CASA approach, and you've got any questions, then do not hesitate to contact me, and I will have a look at it and we can discuss it. Also, if you want to suggest any actual sentence that you want to have discussed on this channel, just put it down in the comment section, and I will try and make a video about it as soon as possible. So much for now. Thank you very much for your attention. This concludes the main part of the course. I will, however, in the next coming weeks, still upload a couple of extra videos on minor points of construction grammar. Still, if you watch all of the videos from the first one to this one, you should have a good idea of what a construction analysis of English and of languages in general involves. Thank you once again for your interest in the channel. Maybe you want to subscribe to stay updated about future videos that I'm going to post. But for now, stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.